Good morning, Dr. Hawkins. Okay, I'm going to start this. I had to situate my kids, get them going before I started my presentation here. My wife was on call. She's a physical therapist, so she's at work. So what I'm going to go over today, which struck me the most that had to do with change for this week's assignment, was first from the supplemental reading, which I have to admit some books click with me. Sometimes and other ones don't. This one clicks with me. This has been by far the best source I've used. And what clicked with me this week was, there was numerous things. There was one on reflection that I really liked. Another portion on team building. So I had numerous things to choose from. But what I narrowed it down to, and I'm going to apply this to the advisory program that we had. I'm going to say had at Hudson's Bay High School because I no longer teach there. I went on for an administrative position after that. But what it's called is action planning tools. And there was 8 of these action planning tools. The 8th one's kind of one of those ones where it says, etc. You pick some different things you can use. So I'll go bit by bit here. But the first action planning tool, which I think many of us use, is a to-do list. Okay? So it's simple, yet it supplies the starting point to begin the change process. I think for me, I use half sheets of paper that I fold up, that I printed. Oh, I shouldn't have printed that up. And I have to-do lists. Well, with the advisory program, there was many things that we had, and they were bullets of things that we had to do before we even presented this program to our staff. We had to go visit Franklin Pierce High School up in Tacoma, Washington, to see about their advisory program. Why Franklin Pierce? Because our associate principal had connections with the principal up there. She was our change agent. She really was. It wasn't our principal, although our principal is an awesome leader, but she didn't know everything in every aspect of education to where Kim did. So she had a friend up at Franklin Pierce, so that was the first reason. The second reason was their demographics was similar to ours, which is important. They had 50 to 60% free and reduced lunch, as did we, as well as that ethnicity pie. It was similar to ours as well. So, that was the first thing that we had to do, check on that list, was who did we go visit? Okay, let's go visit, let's go check out their programs. Number 2, we received materials from them. The thing about education is you borrow things from other schools. Why reinvent the wheel when they had lesson plans for each grade level, 9, 10, 11, and 12, for bi-weekly lessons, 2 lessons a week until the month of March, and then you have 1 session after that. So at least we had something to start with, and then you personalize those lessons based on that material. So we did that. We knew the thing about it, there was going to be skepticism with any staff, including ours, about advisory. It's kind of how do I want to put it? It's not a positive. It doesn't have positive or connotations when you throw that word around, especially at a high school, because they think about the advisory model in middle school. And I taught advisory I taught middle school for 5 years before I came to Hudson's Bay and taught there 9 years. So it wasn't the touchy-feely, that type of thing, games, fun, like middle school. So we really had to get that point across. So it's interesting, this to-do list, we came together and formulated a team, which again, that's another thing on the to-do list that I'm sure Kim, our change agent, and Kathy, our principal, that was one of their to-do things. We have to put together a team that looks at things, creates curriculum, rolls out the advisory program to our staff. So that's, that was what we did. That was some of the brainstorming things that we did do. So my role especially was to roll this out, present this at a faculty meeting, and make clear that, yes, Mr. Brown, he does know what advisory looks like, especially at the middle school level, which everyone else, their first perception is, oh, we're going to do this touchy-feely thing. However, the way I presented it out was more, we need to prepare our kids to be prepared beyond high school. Develop a portfolio, have the ability to speak to their, at this point, guardian or parent, and lead a student-led conference. The reality of this, the teacher's a bystander. They're pretty much out of the way during a student-led conference. They sit there, but it's me presenting to my parent, my guardian, parents, whatever that may be. The awesome thing about this, too, is you have to understand, with all these in mind, they want to show their parents or guardian, their transcripts, their goals, many of their best works, which is also important. This is my best work in, English this year, English last year. Although they'd usually just show them the updated stuff. My best work in social studies, math, and then they'd explain what they did. It's a two-pronged approach here. The kids like to tell about themselves. They really do at that age, especially when they're successful. And many of them have successes they think that they're not, but they present these things. Regardless of their grades, they're successful. They did well in this, they did well in this. Maybe their interests aren't in English or PE or whatever. Okay? But it is their opportunity to say some things about themselves. And also, we wanted to prepare them for interviews. How do they sell themselves? So, these were the lists that we made even before we rolled this program out. And then we also had another list. Here's where we want to be, the March or April before the next year, before we roll out the program. Here's where we want to be in June and July, when we got a group together and created these lesson plans. And then here's where we want to be the next year and down the line. And then at the end of that first year. Then, which goes along with that, I have to pick up my pace here, is number 2, the second part of the action planning tools is the responsibility charting. So we had a chart. Chris does this, Mick does this, Kim does this, Kathy does this. We got a couple other teachers to help out too. So I was responsible, I believe, for the senior lesson plans. Okay, I was also responsible for going to Franklin Pierce, and evaluating their program, and then presenting this whole program to our staff. So there was a lot of things that I was responsible for, but we all had responsibilities. Who was going to teach, who was the administrator that was going to teach the 9th grade advisory teachers what they were doing on, December 13th, and so forth. So before every lesson plan, like, I would present to all the senior advisory teachers what we were doing, what the objectives were. It worked out well. Then I would also fill in. Okay, someone was gone, we didn't have enough subs or whatever, I would fill in for that 30-minute advisory session. So that's that responsibility charting. Now, and then we had the third tool is contingency planning. And there's 2 different aspects of that. Decision tree analysis, which was the major decisions and consequences of those actions, and you consider the actions. And then scenario planning. And really, what this is, it's looking at your actions, looking at decisions, and what were the reactions or the results. What that is, and I was a former football coach, it's anticipating things if they go wrong. Okay, in football,